Time for another episode of Maybe I'm Rambling. Child migrants. What has happened at the U.S. border? The U.S. is bracing for a 20-year high in numbers of migrants right at the southern border, including thousands of children who are being kept in government-run detention facilities that critics say are inhumane. The record-breaking influx of children that has left U.S. immigration officials scrambling for solutions to a growing humanitarian crisis. President Joe Biden has urged migrants to not attempt to travel to the U.S. border. Don't leave your town, or city, or community, he said in a recent interview. But with Donald Trump out of office, some believe immigration to the U.S. is now more possible. On 22nd March, the Texas lawmaker released first photos of the child detention camps from the Biden era. How many children are being detained? As of 21 March, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agents were holding more than 15,500 unaccompanied children in custody, according to U.S. media. The Department of Homeland Security, Orlando Mayorkas, has said these camps, which are often compared to jails and warehouses, are no place for a child. At least 5,000 children have been kept for over 72 hours. The legal limit after which they are meant to be transferred to custody of health officials in the Office of Refugee Resettlement, ORR. Mr. Mayorkas blamed pandemic restrictions and abnormally cold weather in Texas for the delay. ORR facilities are generally better equipped to take children. The shelters feature play areas, classrooms, and counseling services. The organization is also tasked with finding families or home where children will remain until the immigration claim is heard by the courts. In February, around 9,500 children who were not covered by the legal guardian were detained by American officials. More than 100,000 people were stopped from trying to cross into the U.S. that month. What are the conditions like? In short, we don't know. Journalists have not yet been permitted inside the camps since President Joe Biden took office in January, although the White House says there will be. But lawyers who represent the children and lawmakers have toured the camps, saying they've been held in cramped, overcrowded conditions. Texas Congressman Henry Sueller, who visited a government-run tent city in Donna, Texas, holding 1,000 people, released the first photos of the camps to be taken during Biden's presidency. The children are seen huddled together and sleeping in 4 blankets on mattresses on the floor. Children being kept together so closely that they were able to reach out and touch the neighbor, activists say. And they had not been given adequate access to soap or food. While in office, President Donald Trump faced outrage over the conditions inside border facilities holding children. Images from these detention centers showed children overcrowded in metal cages, others sleeping under foil blankets. Despite concerns about coronavirus, health officials from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said these facilities can be open at 100% capacity. What is the U.S. doing to handle the surge? Officials are scrambling to find more government buildings to house the children and have called on help from charities and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which normally deals with natural disasters. More than 1,500 children have arrived at a convention center in downtown Dallas that normally hosts business conferences, a military base in Virginia, and a California air base run by NASA. The U.S. Space Agency has also been considered as possible locations. Another camp originally set up Texas oil workers in Midland is being managed by the American Red Cross charity. According to reports, few of the volunteers speak Spanish or have experience with vulnerable children. The U.S. had also placed thousands of radio and digital adverts in Spanish and Portuguese across South and Central America, warning people not to come, and have called for emergency talks with officials in Mexico and Guatemala that could help in stemming the flow of immigrants. The Biden administration has said these detention centers are no place for children and that they are exploiting alternatives to allow migrants to apply for asylum from their home country instead of attempting the dangerous journey. Who are the migrants? A pandemic health order means that most adults and families are being summoned summarily turned away, but the Biden administration has allowed unaccompanied children under the age of 18 to enter the U.S. while their claims are processed. The majority are teenage boys. Many are traveling to meet family who have already migrated to the U.S. False rumors of open border have been spreading often in violent and poverty-stricken communities where most migrants come from, experts say. Many migrants have suggested that Mr. Biden's victory over Mr. Trump came to office in a pledge to crack down on immigration and made them decide to take the perilous journey. This is not the first surge of unaccompanied migrant children to trigger a crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border. Similar humanitarian crises occurred in 2014 under President Barack Obama and in 2018 and 2019 under Mr. Trump. Where are they coming? Experts said the reasons for immigration are varied. Poverty, gang crime, and natural disasters are some reasons that migrants may feel pushed to leave their home countries. Pandemic-related job issues can be added to the surge this time too. Back-to-back hurricanes in Honduras last year may be one factor driving this year's surge, according to Mr. Mayorkas. Lawmakers in Washington are putting figures over the cause of the current surge, which has steadily been growing since April of 2020 and is on track to reach 20-year high. You can't help but notice the administration changes, and there's a surge, said Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, echoing others in his party that he had claimed that Mr. Biden's promised immigration reform has fueled increased numbers. How do Biden's policies differ from Trump? Under a pandemic-related health order called the Title 42, the previous president administration automatically deported anyone caught illegally crossing the border. Mr. Biden has applied the order to adults and families, but not to unaccompanied children. Mr. Trump has previously sought to deter immigration by arresting migrant families and separated children, including infants and babies, to be housed with minors who had not been brought to the border by the parent or legal guardian. The so-called zero-tolerance policy drew widespread outrage and led Mr. Trump to issue an executive order in June 2018 to halt the family separation policy. And that's it for Maybe I'm Rambling. Tell me what you think in the comments.